Hi everybody! Hi Rutger! How are you doing?
I'm alright, thanks.
I'm very happy because we're gonna have a very interesting video. You suggested we're gonna break down the Dothraki from a scientific point of view and then use that for a bold prediction. And I'm like, what does science have anything to do with the Dothraki? With the Dothraki, Mr. Evolutionary Biologist.
Well, they have a certain lifestyle.
Warriors.
Like horses.
Nomads.
And
Not agriculture.
They don't farm. So that's actually a way of life that in the history of our planet we see come up time and time again. And actually, so if I just quickly grab my Dothraki spear. So there's these areas that sort of start here in Eurasia and they go all the way, basically all the way onto Manchuria, that are just grassy steppes, just like the grasslands of the Dothraki.
Right.
And you can't really do agriculture there, but the only way to live is actually through animals that do eat the grass.
Right, the horses.
And the horses are, of course, a great innovation because, first of all, you can eat them, you can drink the milk, the blood.
You can get from place to place.
And you can get from place to place.
Right.
You can move very quickly, you can do these hit and run attacks.
And what do you eat instead? So you eat the horses,
yeah.
But how do you support yourself if you only have grasslands?
But if you want something else, you just loot somewhere.
Just take it.
Then just take it.
So how has their environment turned them into such great warriors? And so good with the horses? Is basically evolution.
Yeah, it's a kind of almost like a symbiosis between horses and man. There's been a bunch of different societies that all lived like that, right? Like the Huns, the Avars, the Mongols are often associated with the Dothraki, the Xiongnu, who harassed the Chinese. So, and also these kind of societies that are this nomadic, pastoral lifestyle, well, there's not really a lot of opportunity for social hierarchies and division of labor, so there's not really artists or a very refined culture, only maybe things that are portable, but of course there's no cities, there's no great temples.
Right. Things that you need, they take with them things that they need. They eat what they have and what they can take. They don't really create anything, like the Mongols didn't leave behind the great culture. They either went back or got assimilated within their culture.
Even in prehistory, we now have evidence that this also existed and that this had an enormous influence on Europe. There's long been this idea that at some time, early Bronze Age, these populations from this area might have moved into Europe and displaced previous populations there, but there wasn't really very good evidence for it, except for grave finds and sort of inference.
Okay.
But based on genetic studies, we now know that this is actually the case, and that this has left a huge mark, especially on men. So we can see that these were like warriors who left their Y chromosomes in European populations.
That we can now trace back to these peoples?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No army could move so fast or strike so quickly. They didn't know that the Dothraki live in the saddle and have such command over their horses that they seem to have 4 legs, not 2.
So basically, if I understand it correctly, the fact that they live in a certain area, the people who thrive in that area, survive and thrive, are the people who are most skilled with horses, with whatever, arching, while you're riding a horse, being a great warrior because you have to take somebody's food. So if you're not a great warrior, you die off, you don't pass on your genes.
Yeah, that's not a culture that's going to be successful.
Right. So slowly and slowly and slowly through the years, they just become better and better and better at it. And this has been recorded through history, that they have these incredible techniques, right? Like shooting arrows, like while like the wrong way as they're going fast and stuff. And like I was in Mongolia, that was a long time ago. I saw a 4-year-old kid. He couldn't even get on top of the horse, climb up on the horse. His dad put him there with no saddle, and he just rode the horse. I was trying to imagine how good that 4-year-old would have been 1,000 years ago, even better.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can have like the same cultural evolution if you are mountain people, for example. What would that create?
In areas where you cannot really do agriculture, like settle down and build a farm, and like the steppes are an example of that, the mountains might be an example of that, or sort of desert, arid regions. You're going to have to use animals, so it could be horses, but there's also, of course, examples of cultures that just use like goats and sheep to live off of, or
and to move up the mountain, take their stuff. Okay, and if you live in a mountain, I'm sure you would move around less because it's harder to get around.
Yes.
So you won't be as mobile a people.
The Inca Empire, actually, it was the largest land empire in the New World, and a large part of it was actually on the high plateaus of the Andes. But again, this is also thanks to this pastoral lifestyle, right? So they had llamas,
Right.
which they herded, and this herding needed to be over quite long areas. And so they actually moved around quite a bit through these connected valleys, but less so than like the Mongol Empire, which was enormous, obviously.
Right, that
And
was the
then-
largest land empire ever.
Basically ever.
And also when you go back to history, you see how much these kinds of people, the Mongols and peoples who have preceded them, how much they impacted history, destroying civilizations, all the way from China to the Muslim world to the Roman world.
Yeah. What was civilization to do? Like the sedentary people, like
What can men do against such reckless hate?
hit and run appearances of these kind of societies were always really impactful enormously. Also when they brought pathogens like the Black Plague actually came with the Mongols, and the problem was only solved when there were guns, right? Because a horse is quick, but a bullet is quicker.
Right. So like 3,000 years of these nomads causing havoc with the gunpowder, boom.
Yeah,
That's it.
pretty much.
You can train all your life, shoot arrows like this, whatever, boom. Just give a guy a gun, he will probably kill you.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a
Blah, 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 blah.
We can use that for a bold prediction. The Dothraki are now in Westeros. I think in the books, some of them, I think they will go through Essos, pillage the whole thing, like the Mongols did.
Yeah.
Some of them will stay, then they will cross the waters. In the show, the Dothraki, can they sustain themselves in this little grassy,
Well, so these-
somewhat
these-
grassy, rivery part here?
So these invasions always kind of run out of steam once you run out of steppes. So for example, in Europe, the most sort of steppe-like area is in Hungary, where the Magyar, also kind of a society like that.
And the
ended
Huns were
up-
here also, right? The Huns came through Hungary, am I right?
Yes, yeah. But when you get into these more settled areas that are not grasslands, but that are more built up with higher population densities, then you cannot really sustain this trick of bringing a lot of horses because they all have to graze, and you're facing larger armies, which might be also more better armored, and so then you kind of, well, I guess you might have to retreat again, or you're probably going to be absorbed into those. Just like what happened when the Mongols conquered China. Within one generation, they were basically Chinese.
Yeah.
Right.
And Genghis Khan famously has his genes spread out throughout the world.
Well, these kind of societies, everything they have is portable. And so their religion actually is also portable.
They can take the great big temple on their back.
Many religions might have like a holy mountain or a forest or this or that,
Yes.
really tied to a place. But these more nomadic cultures have sort of like a sky god who's always there wherever you go.
Did the Mongols kill people over whatever, not respecting their god, or it was just like they had the mandate from heaven.
So it was more a mandate from heaven thing. We're on a mission from Gangi, and everyone will be brought into the fold.
Right.
But actually,
You don't have to convert.
Right, the Mongols were actually quite tolerant in the religion of the peoples that they conquered.
And all of them also became Muslims.
Yeah.
Mongols, yeah. So the Mongolians, they had this one big city, right, Karakorum, which kind of mirrors Vice Dothraki, like the big city, holy city that you have to go back to.
Yeah, but it's almost more like an assembly point with some stone decoration.
Yes.
It's not a permanently functioning city with its own economy.
And also we were talking about the Mongolians becoming assimilated. So once they were in China, became rich, and their kids grew up there, without the harsh conditions, without the plains, the grass, without all that, they became different. They became softer, more refined. You know, the second generation, the third generation just destroyed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like for a time, they wanted to take their kids and to spend a few years right in the steppes to toughen them up, because otherwise
they were going soft.
Like this lifestyle cannot be sustained unless you really evolve in that place.
Yeah, culturally. Yeah.
Culturally.
Yeah. But and conversely, there are these things, of course, that the Mongols were not used to at all, because that was never part of their lifestyle, such as making alcohol. Right? You need to have agriculture, you need to grow crops, and then you need to ferment. And so the drinking was actually an enormous problem for these nomadic people, because this is something that they were not adapted to, also not in their biochemistry, because there's some variation in humans in that. They became raging alcoholics, many of them.
Maybe they were trying to suppress all the killing and raping that they were doing, maybe.
Or enhance it. So the Mongols and these kind of societies are very tied to the system of, okay, there's grass, the horses eat grass, we eat the horses. So if it's a good year and there's a lot of grass, then the horses get a lot of young, the herd expands, and then the Mongols expand. So in good years they expand, and in bad years, when there's not a lot of grazing, they have to contract again.
Because each warrior has to have like 10, 20
horses? 20,
horses,
something like that. Yeah.
to be able to run full speed all the time and take all his stuff.
Switch and eat one once in a while, drink the milk. So Genghis Khan had like a good summer with a lot of grass on the steppes.
Right.
And that provided the opportunity
to be a great man.
Yeah, and to expand.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we talk about the political conditions and all that, but a lot of it has to do just like with the natural conditions.
A lot of it has to do with the natural world. Like in this way, but also then in the diseases of the steppes that they carried with them, which enhanced their success, because everyone was dying.
Right, like in the New World also.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay. So ball prediction basically was a running theme throughout this video, is that this is not a sustainable kind of way outside their Dothraki Sea.
Yeah.
So they will either be assimilated, or will have to go back, or maybe will just be cut out of the season because they're not interesting anymore, I'm guessing. No, you know what? I think they're gonna have a hard time fighting in the winter. They're not dressed for winter.
No.
You can't go fast on your horse when
there's
it's snowing.
There's no grass also, like what do the horses eat?
If there's snow up to here, you can't do anything with the Dothraki. Okay, so they're gonna get pulverized, I think. You agree?
Right. Yeah, I think so.
I think so?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. If you want to watch exclusive content on patreon.com/GothAcademy, go there and pledge. Your support would be very much appreciated. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed this video. So click subscribe to never miss any Goth Academy video about any topic. We do movies, we do TV shows, we do books, and also you can click the bell to get a notification whenever we post a new video.